Hello and welcome to the video project on the book Machiavelli's Florence Republic by Clarke. My colleagues and
Hi.
I will briefly introduce you to the Machiavelli's political philosophy and the time when he was working, and next consider main points discussed by Clarke. So, let's begin. Machiavelli was not only one of the greatest philosophers of the 16th century and father of modern political philosophy, but also a successful politician and historian. For many years, he served as a senior official and secretary to Second Chancery of the Republic of Florence, until Medici returned into power in 1512. He is best known for his work The Prince, which was addressed to new Florence rulers but directed to Lorenzo de' Medici. This book is an instruction guide for new princes and royals. The general theme of The Prince is that for achieving goals, namely glory and survival, it is justified for princes to use immoral methods and approaches. For centuries, Machiavelli's ideas were used by a lot of famous European politicians, for instance, Emperor Charles V, Henry VIII of England, and others. Florence Republic was out of Medici's control from 1494 until 1512, and this was the triumph of republicanism, or not? Clarke starts her book with the historical background of Grande rule in Italy. Those Grandi, or closest translation royalty, used violence over everyone whom they didn't like, and thus people hated them. Later, being poor rulers, most of Grandi were deposed by Medici family. Why were they successful, taking into account that they were also Grandi? Machiavelli answers, they used not only sticks, but also carrots, and they hid all of their motives and actions under the mask of virtue and goodness. And it worked. Republicanism originally was a matter of security from Gandhi's abuse, and when Gandhi changed the approach, Republic died even without blood. However, formally it remained Republic until 1532. Machiavelli finds the origins of such a failure of republicanism in retelling of Florence history. Historians misused facts to adjust them for the contemporary ruler or elite's benefits. Thus, the notion republicanism, as Machiavelli noted, was lost in history. Skinner named Machiavelli as a conservative humanist who was trying to save traditional humanist republicanism using the same notions and terms like liberty as did his predecessors, namely Leonardo Bruni and Pogo Bracciolini, but from a different perspective. Machiavelli aimed himself to fix this misinterpretation of facts and was pretty successful as wrote discourses on Livy and Florence history. How did he go through Medici's censorship and these books with disclosure of secrets were published? Everything is simple. He just used their weapon. He talked about Medici's virtue and merits, but putting this in light, why they were successful diffuse Republican opposition and gain popular support. But not only misinterpretation of history and Medici themselves led to the collapse of Republic. Corruption was also a poison for the Republican system.
Chaos' everlasting Italian wars, continuous series of coups and revolts influenced Machiavelli greatly. Machiavelli had a gloomy perception of his contemporary Italy. He perceived Italy as a land where ancient virtue died, and as a land where people are incapable of building anything great on the ruins of Rome. But one may ask a genuine question: why is it important to study the history of a land that is devastated, corrupt, enslaved, servile, and dispersed more than ever? Machiavelli had a rather simple answer: to learn how political leaders survived in the middle of corruption. Machiavelli had a classical perception of history as a cyclical process. However, he believed that it is possible that an extraordinary force can break the natural cycle of order and disorder. And Machiavelli identified two reasons why his contemporary Italy was in ruins. and these reasons are Christianity and Roman legacy. The first reason was the Christian Church, and Machiavelli blamed it for the divided political landscape in Italy. Christian Church was weak enough to carry out a project to unite Italy and was strong enough to hinder the unification of Italy by the states. He perceived Christianity as a phenomenon that undermined political virtues. For example, virtues like mercy and faith replaced such ancient virtues as the greatness of spirit and strength of body, which Machiavelli recognized as necessary for healthy political life. The second reason of the degradation of Italy that Machiavelli noted was the Roman arms. Machiavelli claimed that Florence failed to secure its free existence also because of its Roman legacy, which was expressed in the impossibility of liberty. Florence was always subordinated to the empire, and thus its leaders lost the ability to think for themselves. Clarke pointed out that Machiavelli had identified two basic ancient Roman values that had influenced the division in Italy. The first one is fraud, and Machiavelli wrote that Rome often used fraud and deception. We know this tactic as divide et impera. Romans exploited local conflicts to their benefit. Originally, Rome treated its allies as junior partners, but the allies were doomed by the time they recognized that they were deceived by Rome. And the second Roman virtue that helped them in the effort of building a great empire was force. Romans destroyed the material and institutional foundations of their false liberty. They destroyed their identity, which linked locals with their free past. Machiavelli discussed Roman virtues for two purposes. The first one was to educate readers on how empires were built and maintained, and the second one to show readers why their countries failed to achieve greatness. He also highlighted issues that resulted in the dissolution of Rome. For example, he wrote how the distribution of personal favors led to the beginning of tyranny. He supported his claims with historical examples, as always. Marius and Sulla were the first citizens of the Republic who managed to thwart Roman liberty by diverting soldiers' loyalty from the Senate to their personality. Clarke pointed out that in Machiavelli's view ancient Roman virtues were forgotten, but their legacy still influenced the world. Here it is important to know that Machiavelli is often read as a thinker that relied on pre-modern foundations, but Clarke proposed another interpretation of Machiavelli's understanding of politics. In Clarke's view, Machiavelli was rather modern. He viewed nature as something that can be changed by human behavior. He viewed modernity as one of the greatest products of Roman virtues, as it transformed the West and Italy, freed it from the laws of history. We have seen how Clarke proved that Machiavelli rejected the idea that Florence has a long-lasting republican heritage, and instead she showed us that he claimed that Florence was always vacillating between anarchy and princely rule. Machiavelli spends a great part of the histories, which sometimes looks like he was praising the Medici family. Clarke rejected this common view and claimed that Machiavelli pretended that negative views of the Medici did not exist on purpose. She highlighted one of the possible reasons why Machiavelli evaded criticism of Medici, because he thought that their actions did not fit the conventional understanding of villainy. Machiavelli tried to educate readers about the dangers posed by men like Medici, who have learned how to parlay a reputation for conventionally virtuous behavior into princely power. In Clarke's view, Machiavelli summarized the character of Medici rulers like Giovanni, Cosimo, and Lorenzo to show how they ascended to princely powers and, consequently, thwarted Florentine liberty. Clarke pointed out that Machiavelli was familiar with what happened to people who crossed the Medici path. Clarke proposed that Machiavelli carefully contrasted Medici with their Roman analogues to unsettle the reader's confidence in the legitimacy of Medici power. The Medici were successful because of their ability to acquire power without contradicting the popular understanding of moral and political respectability. Medici were always virtuous in the classical understanding of this term. They supported the poor, praised the good, funded the construction of Florence's most impressive churches. Powerful Medici were successful because Florentines saw them as the upholders of the law, guarantors of Florence's freedom.
Florence was the capital for which it was important to have good relations and friendship with other states. The idea of trust and interaction were the foundation of social and political institutions. It was this pretext of virtue that played a huge role for the Medici and brought them up to the highest and led to domination. During the reign of Medici, integrity and scrupulous attitude to duty allowed Florence to build trusting relations with other states, and in exactly the same way, the behavior of republicans in relations to each other and their ruler erased.
Confidence and trust make people free in the understanding of Machiavelli. Building up such a free and honest republic was a republican and people's aim by its nature. Comparing Cosimo Medici to Augustine's reign in the Roman Empire, Machiavelli shows how Cosimo was similar in his reign to the great reign of Augustine, which still amazes historians with its grandeur. Machiavelli argues that the majority of sovereigns resort to violence and brutal actions for the prosperity of the republic, while the Medici used virtue and mercy, but there are also moments for which Machiavelli condemns Cosimo that he was allowed a little more. By his reign, Cosimo Medici can be said to have raised the republic and the people grateful to the ruler, while such a generous reign could completely ruin Florence. Using the example of the reign of Medici family, Machiavelli shows how important history is for understanding politics regardless of philosophy. Humanist history of the Medici family brought it to the highest and showed how differently it's possible to govern the republic without overthrowing the government. Most historians claim that the Medici betrayed the Florentine Republic, but Machiavelli claims that the transformation of the republic began under the Medici. Moreover, for Machiavelli was important to show truly history of Florence and the desires of humans. Machiavelli in many ways justified the rule of the Medici and in their goodness and mercy, but at the same time a certain cruelty for the good of the Republic. Machiavelli's case for reinserting conflict into the very definition of any political society, not least republics, a broader theoretical argument that finds support in its ability to make sense of the material facts of Florentine history, including evidence that rival historians muffle and marginalize. Historians like Bruni don't separate power and people, and Bruni's understanding there is a society that goes in one direction and achieving goals, while Machiavelli does this, and in this is one of the main controversies in politics. The difference between Machiavelli and Skinner is that Machiavelli uses history as evidence, while Skinner shows political intentions and ideological systems. Skinner regarded political theory as projects that take root and develop in life. Moreover, his attitude to historical facts is not as serious as that of Machiavelli. Skinner believes that historical facts are irrelevant in the construction of history but can only be brought up in debate. Also, Skinner's attitude to the political concept is not serious enough, while Machiavelli argues that political events allow a deeper understanding of the moments of the history of the past. Summing up these considerations, we can say that Machiavelli considers important aspects such as historical moments and politics as important aspects in understanding the reliability of the history of a state, which may well be incomplete.
And that's all that we wanted to say. Thank you for watching and see ya!